Hey YouTube, I've got a 2001 Ford Escape here. Customer complaint is after the last snowfall, the wipers are kind of wonky, meaning that sometimes the arms don't move correctly, sometimes they get stuck, and this is what I found. I've hardly put any pressure here, and you can move both arms kind of willy-nilly like that. And if you turn the wipers on, sometimes one will go, sometimes both will go. It's just kind of random. And customer said that they tightened the nuts here to try to fix that problem, thinking that the shaft was just loose. And as it turns out, the splines on both the wiper transmission as well as the wiper arm are stripped out. So I got some new wiper arms and a new wiper motor and wiper transmission from the local wrecking yard. Just trying to save the customer some money here so they can get some wipers working again. So this is actually a pretty easy job, so stay tuned and we'll show you the process. So first part of the job here is to remove the 14mm nuts holding the wiper arms onto the stub shaft or the wiper transmission, however you want to think of it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So once the two nuts have been removed, you can kind of finagle the wiper arms. In this case, since the pivot point here is stripped out, we'll just go ahead and move it to the up position like that, and I'll fold the wiper arm. If you can see here, I folded the wiper arm in the, let's see if I can move you. I moved the wiper arm up and I folded it up to the service position, I guess you'd call that. All right. So once it's up like that, you can usually jiggle it and eventually get the wiper arm off. So we'll repeat the process on the other side, but first I'll show you, if I can get this to focus, basically the splines that used to be in here are completely gone. And unfortunately, I think that's the case over on the right here on the stub coming out. So we'll continue on and get this second wiper off. Since we don't have access right now to move the arm up with the hood in the way, we'll just try to finagle it off. All right, so that came off, and on further inspection, this is also stripped out. Probably can't see it too well. I'll attempt to get it to focus, but yeah, it's stripped out. It's completely smooth in here. So both wiper arms are off. So next job here is to take these caps off of the panel here. This right here, right there, all the way to the halfway point. A lot of times these caps have popped off or gotten lost when windshields have been replaced, but you could just take a small screwdriver and something like that and pry them out. They're just caps that fit over the Phillips head screws. All right, so these caps just simply pop over the screw heads. So we'll put those aside. That reveals a bunch of Phillips head screws. So we'll go ahead and remove those next. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, hopefully. Kind of tight quarters. You can get a stubby Sometimes you can get a normal size Phillips screwdriver up in there. It just kind of depends. We'll try this here. All right, so it's not looking like I can do that too well. I can't seem to find a good Phillips stubby, so what I have here is a bit driver ratchet. Just takes your standard bits, so that should work. It's got a good bit on here. And that'll clear the hood. Next are these plastic fasteners right here. All right, these have the Phillips heads on them, as you can see here. Hopefully these just unscrew. What I'm doing is I'm applying as little force downwards on the fastener so that they unscrew. You can use a panel remover tool like this to help remove the center piece. I think I have another video here on my channel, like under helpful hints or something like that describes how to get these out. So just continue on with the remaining ones. Okay, you can see that. So that one came out. We'll, all right, just keep working on until we get to this last one here. I've always hated these fasteners. Luckily, we can access the back side of them, so you can use your finger to help push them up if you need to. So with that last, oh wow, I had you zoomed in. Anyway, I was just working on this last one. With this last one out, this panel should just lift up off the cowl like so. From here, you just kind of pull it out of the way. You might have to work around this edge here. It's just a little rubber hook that kind of gets caught on the edge of the hood. So we'll move this aside. Now that reveals the wiper transmission, wiper motor. So to disconnect the wiper motor here, there's a tab right on top. So what you do is you push down on it. Push down to release it. You might have to push the whole connector towards the wiper motor with that tab pushed in, and then keeping that tab pushed in, then you can pull it out. And sometimes it takes a little bit of finagling. That's okay, just take your time. And it comes out like so. All right, we are almost done removing this guy. Let me move the camera back. Okay, so from here, you can kind of see we've got a couple 8mm head screws right here, one down here, and there's one right by the pivot here that's kind of out of view. Remove those. On occasion, I've seen these have 10mm heads, so just keep that in mind. I got an 8mm socket, so I'm just gonna remove those. This is probably one of the easier wiper motors to deal with. So there's a little washer with a collar on it. Put that aside. Two more of these bolts here. All right, so that one, the collar didn't come up with it. We could use the trim tool here to pull that off, just so we have it in hand. One more to go. And that's over by the pivot point here, so I'll reach over and do that. Okay. So with those three bolts out, this whole wiper assembly, wiper transmission, wiper linkage assembly can come out. All right, sometimes the bushings get stuck to the cowl here, but just give it a nice tug and it should come out just like so. So if we were replacing the wiper motor, like if you were to go to AutoZone or Napa or whatever, you generally just get the wiper motor, okay? So to get the wiper motor off of the linkage or transmission, you'd have to pull these 8mm screws out as well as this 8mm in the middle. What I would do is I would mark where this arm is in relation to the bracket, then remove the motor, put the new motor in, plug the motor in, turn the ignition switch on, let the motor park. Once the motor's parked, then you can put this center pivot pin back in and line it up with your marks. But in this case, we have an entirely new wiper transmission. So I'm just gonna go ahead and set this aside and grab the replacement one. Oh, I forgot to note. So look here. You can see that the splines are completely gone off of the pivot points on this original wiper transmission. Completely gone. And here's the replacement one, fresh from the wrecking yard. And you can see the splines are, well, maybe you can't see it, but the splines are pretty sharp. You can feel them quite well. You can feel them quite well. Even through these rubber gloves, I can feel them just fine. So we'll go ahead and move the camera again and get this lined up so we can install it. All right, I know you guys hate it when I say this, but installation is reverse of removal. So here we go. We got the replacement one in. We'll feed this very gently in here until all the mounts line up. All right. So now we'll just get the screws on, start them by hand. Keep the camera rolling here. Maybe I can do some fast forward magic. These are not very big bolts, so you don't want to go too tight. This is a really long handle, so I'm just choking up on it so that I don't bust these bolts off. All right. Next, we'll plug the connector back in. And now I'm going to cycle the key to the on position, where all the idiot lights in the dash come on, in case this wiper linkage for some reason isn't in the park position. All right. So if I zoom in here, you can see the wiper pivots moving. So I'm going to hit the mist function one more time. Allow those things to park. And shut the ignition off. Okay, so now that we've got the wiper system properly parked, it's time to put the cowl panel back on. And it's just, again, reverse of how you removed it. So we'll feed this corner up here like so. So I don't know if you noticed here, but this piece slides underneath that piece, so I had to finagle it until it all lined up. All right, so now we can just put those screws back in. So these only screw into plastic, so they don't need to go in like super tight. As soon as you feel it gets snug, then stop. And get the bit driver. Snap the caps back into place if you have them still. As you can see, this one's missing. All right. So now we just need to put these plastic fasteners in. So pretty easy. We'll put the base in first, and I'll just start from this one since maybe it's a little easier to see from where you're at. So with these things used, they're already splayed out. Brand new ones would be all tucked in nice. So just finagle it, you'll get it. Sometimes you might need to use a tool like this to kind of push the ears in. Like so. So once you get that in the hole like so, you can just push these in. You don't need to screw them in. They're not a fastener that you would torque down. That's how they put them in the factory, at the factory. Shove them in the hole and push the middle part in. So there's that one. I've got two more. Finally, we can put the wiper arms on. All right, so I've grabbed the new junkyard wiper arms. They are different from driver's side to passenger side, so if you flip them over, you'll see a D and a P. So passenger side, driver's side. That way you don't get them mixed up. So. I'm gonna go ahead and put the wiper blades onto the new arms, because I just don't like the possibility of that hook slamming into the windshield on accident. All right, so to get them on, I sort of like to bend it like this, you know, put it in the service position, just like so. Work our way to the pivot point like so. Put your left hand or one of your hands on the arm, remove it or push it down, push the arm down so that it is no longer in the service position, and you can slowly move this until the wiper is in position. So that's approximately how you want to line it up. So we'll put the nuts on. The newer Escapes, like the 2007, I believe, and newer, will actually have marks on the windshield to where you would line the wiper blade up. At least I've seen that on some of the newer ones. I haven't seen it on these older ones. So from here, we'll put the nuts back on. And we will tighten those. If I find a torque spec, I will post them in the video description. All right, there we go. So I'll go ahead and run the other arm on now. All right, so doing the same thing for the passenger side. You don't have to bend it and move it into service mode or the service position. You can leave it in its normal position. So we'll just run it under the hood very carefully, like so, and do the same thing. Get it to where we can line it up where it looks correct on the windshield. You don't want it too high, you don't want it too low. Oops, I forgot to turn the camera on when I was torquing this one down. So So what I was doing there, I was shaking it as I was tightening it to make sure the wiper arm engaged in the splines. You'll feel them line up. All right, so that should be plenty tight. All right, got the windshield sufficiently wet so we're not running the wipers on a dry windshield. Okay, so something I was looking at was to make sure the passenger side windshield was going into just barely the surface that the driver's side windshield wipes. All right, if it stops a little bit short, you're going to want to move that passenger side arm up just a little bit. That gets you a more efficient wipe. And you just want to make sure the driver's side arm doesn't come off of the windshield here. So all right, one more check. All right, everything looks good. Everything's working smoothly. So I would say that's a successful repair. Anyway, if you guys like this sort of video, hit the like button and leave a comment down below. If you have any questions or concerns, also leave that in the comment section. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel so you can see more content like this. Anyway, hope you guys are having a nice day, and we will see you next time. Thank you.